Hey everybody, and welcome to a very special video. Today, I wanted to showcase my Xbox 360 game collection and see if there may be some games through here that you would be interested to see on the channel. As some of you may know, I have another YouTube channel that actually now is my main YouTube channel called The Game Archivist. You can find the link to that YouTube channel in the description down below, where I do long play content. And I recently got an Elgato Capture card, meaning that I can now actually also record console games, which is very, very cool. And so I dusted off my old Xbox 360 and went to the attic. I'm going to sit for a moment, that's a little bit easier, to gather my Xbox 360 game collection. And actually came to the conclusion that there are some pretty exclusive and rare games that I own that might be not only cool for the Game Archivist channel, but also for the Konoha channel. Though again, I do know that the tastes of the viewers of the Konoha channel are a little bit more niche, so I'm not going to talk about this entire collection, but just a few specific ones that I put here at the front, because I think some of these might be to the taste of what you guys like over there. If there are some other games, though, that you will see here that you think would be cool, again, definitely head on over to the Game Archivist, because I will be archiving and filming a lot of Xbox 360 content over the upcoming weeks. Now, I'm gonna sit over here for a moment. Just gonna share my thoughts a little bit, and again, if you do like a game you see here and would like me to play it and commentate over it, let me know in the comments down below. I started out with Perfect Dark Zero, which Perfect Dark Zero was a launch title for the Xbox 360, and was the follow-up to the well-appraised Perfect Dark on the N64. And though the N64 version was indeed quite good, the Xbox 360 version was absolutely terrible. This game was the first Xbox 360 game that I owned, and I never actually finished it, and I didn't really remember why, but now actually playing it so many years later, I can tell you that the controls are absolutely horrible, and the level design is really, really horrible, and overall it was just not a very good time to play it, but I did actually film it and complete it, and will archive it on the Game Archivist so that, you know, it will not be lost in time, because I don't think there's a PC version for this. And some people actually are a fan of this game and really want a remaster or a new re-release of this game. Now, the game next to it, The Darkness, is actually very interesting, though on first glance it might not look like the type of game that many of you like. I do think this will be a pleasant surprise to many of you, because this is actually from the same creators who nowadays make the Wolfenstein series, and they also made Chronicles of Riddick, and is a first-person shooter that is really heavy on its atmosphere and storytelling, and really tells a dark and realistic story of this mob gangster who grows up in the streets of New York and has something pretty drastic fall over him, and then will need to hunt down his mobster uncle for revenge. I actually did already play and complete this for the Game Archivist, but would also love to kind of showcase this on the Konoha channel. But again, it might be a little bit too sort of like comic-ish thing, or a little bit out there for some of you, though again, I think many of you will be surprised and will be up you guys' alley. What I do know some of you will actually do like is Turok. This is, of course, the 2008 version. Turok was back in the day on the N64 and was, of course, famous for having dinosaurs and all sorts of crazy weapons and changing gameplay there, just all the way over the top. And many people actually who are fans of those earlier games really dislike this one because it's a very mediocre military shooter. I don't think it's that bad, but I definitely agree that it is very run-of-the-mill average in terms of looks and gameplay. It's very gray, very brown. It runs on Unreal Engine 3, and back in the Xbox 360 games, you had a plethora of games that ran on Unreal Engine 3 that all looked and felt the same, and this is no exception. The only good thing is indeed that it has dinosaurs. It's not a very long game. The combat feels pretty good. Though I will say that control-wise, and that's for everything here, control-wise, it's not the best. Like, you really cannot be that accurate. Now, it's not as bad as Perfect Dark Zero, but even in the darkness, it's also quite clunky and quite sluggish, even to the point where I thought, like, is it me? Like, do I suck at playing with a controller that much? But then I actually popped in Gears of War and Halo, and the controls there are super smooth, super tight, so it's really these particular games that have quite bad controls. Now here we get a game that I do know that is right up you guys' alley, and I really am thinking about indeed making a video on this for the Kanoa channel, and that is Call of Duty 3. Not necessarily the first Call of Duty that came to consoles. Of course, we had Finest Hour, and we had Big Red One on the PlayStation 2 and GameCube era. But Call of Duty 3 was, I don't believe those games were made by Treyarch. I could be wrong, they maybe were, but this one, it's on the other side, is made by Treyarch. And it's actually a game, I will admit that when I played it back in the day, I was not a huge fan of it. I completed it once and then never really looked back at it again. It had a pretty fun multiplayer, I remember, in split screen with vehicles and everything. But the reason why I kind of got tired of it already is back then, I already played Call of Duty 1, Call of Duty 2, loved those ones. I also played Finest Hour, and so that Call of Duty fatigue already kind of started to settle in. That's also one of the reasons why, for example, World at War, the Call of Duty that many people of the gaming community actually love and have as like their top 3 or maybe even top 1 game in the Call of Duty franchise, is actually not that high on my list. Because I simply felt that fatigue after, playing also this game and even Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Now, Mercenaries 2, not too sure if this is up you guys' alley, but it's a very satisfying third-person shooter with a big emphasis on total destruction. Like, every building in the game, I think you can actually destroy. Because it's Xbox 360, it's not as spectacular as games with total destruction that we have nowadays, but it's still pretty satisfying and kind of like an arcade type of shooter you actually get there. Now here we got another gem. This is one that I think you guys would really like. This is Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. This is like a Battlefield that many people forgot about. That and probably Battlefield 2142. Probably even like Vietnam is more famous than these two. But this was the console exclusive Battlefield game. I believe this also came to PlayStation 2, maybe the original Xbox, I don't know. But this is the Xbox 360 version, meaning it is actually the prettiest version. But I can tell you this, I already popped this in to kind of like playtest. It runs like absolute ass. And that's actually one thing that I realized because I already played a few of these games, not many to completion. Again, I completed these 2 for the Game Archivist. I'm currently playing Call of Duty 3 for the Game Archivist, and this one, 99 Nights, but I know this one is definitely not to you guys' interest. But many of these games run terribly to the point where they fall down or below 30 FPS quite frequently. Back in these days, of course, we didn't have a lot of games that run on 60 FPS, and so maybe we're not used to that, and that was the reason why we could kind of cope with bad frame rates. But people always talk about how games back in these days ran on 30, where I can tell you that many times they actually dip below 30. I even heard that The Darkness actually also came out on the PlayStation 3, and the PlayStation 3 version is even worse and runs like really, really bad with frame rates. So that's the thing. So here we go, the outfit. The outfit is not a very good game, but might be interesting to some of you. Could be an interesting video here for the Kanoa channel. It's World War II. But with a different take. It's very arcadey and mixes, I would say, a third-person shooter experience with some RTS-esque elements. You battle against the enemy on various maps and have to actually build objects and buildings and bases and things to help you, and that will also spawn units that you then get to fight alongside with in a third-person perspective. I didn't play a whole lot of this, and kind of look forward to playing this again now to archive it on the Game Archivist, but I don't think it's going to be a super enjoyable experience, but I wouldn't mind actually playing this on the Kanoa channel as well and kind of sharing my thoughts on this platform to see how it actually has been. This is one of those rare games that I don't know if it came out to PC, but is definitely a game that if you want to get it nowadays, it's quite rare and quite difficult to get your hands on it, even though it's not a very good game. Here we got Far Cry, and I believe we're kind of like at the end of the games that might be your interest. I'll do a quick glance over there on some other games, but the games that I've stacked up over here are basically all games that also have a PC version. So if I would actually film them, it will be the PC version instead of this one. But Far Cry Instincts Predator is basically a re-release of the Far Cry Instincts game that came out on the original Xbox, and as a bonus, you get a separate sort of like standalone game with it called Far Cry Evolution, which is a very short game. And all I remember from this game is that it looked beautiful, but played horribly, and never actually got to finish it. And yeah, that's mostly what I realized or remember about it, that being quite frustrated with how bad the controls and the game itself actually were. Though again, being now a little bit older, I would love to actually go back to it and archive it and share my thoughts here on the Kanoa channel. So again, like I said, this is mostly the things that I think are in you guys' interest. I can quickly go over some of the other things. Again, if you do see some other things here that you think would be interesting to showcase or have on the Kanoa channel, let me know. Again, I know, for example, you guys aren't really big into fighters or RPGs or racing games. Horror isn't really your stuff. Horror is very popular over on the Game Archivist. So games like Saw, for example, very cool. Saw was actually available one time on Steam, but nowadays is actually not available there anymore, so is quite rare. Though what's even more rare, and one game that I would actually love to own, is its sequel, Saw 2. I believe that is console exclusive. The first Saints Row, of course, is very rare nowadays. Vikings Battle for Asgard, another game that might really be up you guys' alley, but has a PC version. So if I do a video about that, that might actually be that version. These are basically all JRPGs, definitely not you guys' interest. Splinter Cell Double Agent might actually be up you guys' thing, because it's very military focused, and actually has a very cool gimmick where you are a double, well, that's the title, it entails a double agent inside a prison cell, and so kind of plays like Prison Break in a way. I believe that also came out during the height of the Prison Break hype around the series itself with Michael Scofield. There, of course, we have Operation Flashpoint. Dragon Rising, again, is also available on PC. Far Cry 2, Red Faction, those type of games. Alien vs. Predator, of course, I did not too long ago. Rainbow Six Vegas. Actually, Rainbow Six Vegas might be interesting to do on the channel as well. Maybe even co-op with the guys at Looping Real Gaming. But again, is also available on PC. So just another glance of games. Over there, I actually have... Oh, this might actually be worth, because this might actually be up you guys' alley. So these three games over here, why I put them separate, these are second-hand games. So these are actually all newly bought by me back in the day, but these were bought recently second-hand for job purposes. So for the Game Archivist, where I will actually play them and archive them. Again, these were bought at GameStop-esque shops here in the Netherlands. And you can see here, they're quite cheap. They're like $3 for this one. It's also, the disc is in quite bad shape with a lot of scratches and stuff. Like, I was always very careful with my discs. Like, most of these discs have like not a single scratch on them. And if you look at like this disc, it's like the previous owners, where like a bunch of like wild apes or something having scratched them up like that. But again, these I bought for work, for my job over at the Game Archivist. So I don't necessarily mind if they're that badly in a bad condition. You know, if I were to buy them for myself, for my entertainment, then I would be quite upset and probably would not have bought them. But since this is work related, it's fine. And you can see here, this is actually Conflict Denied Ops, from the creators of the Conflict Desert Storm and Conflict Vietnam, etc. And here we have Soldier of Fortune Payback. I think these two might be also to you guys' interest. I haven't actually played them, haven't even popped them in yet, but could be interesting. So let me know if this might be something that you might want to see. Dark Void, no idea what this is. Again, it was cheap. Going to film this and archive this over on the Game Archivist. Next week, I'm going to another shop as well, and I already made a list of things that they have available. And one of the games that I'm going to buy, for example, is Bullet Witch. Bullet Witch is also not a very good game. It's an Unreal 3 game, again, one of those generic looking games out there. But again, it's for work purposes, so it is fine. you gotta work hard, play hard, as I say. And yeah, guys, that's about it. I hope there was something in here that you guys would like. I could also show some PlayStation 3 games in the future, but I don't have a big collection of PlayStation 3 games like I do 360. And like I said, I do have some cool exclusives right here that might be really up to your liking. Like I say, Call of Duty 3, Battlefield 2, Modern Combat, maybe Turok. So yeah, let me know if there's something here that is to your liking and that you would like to see. And I'll see you guys then next time. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good one.